Well, joining us now live from Jerusalem is Zohar Avigdori, whose niece and sister-in-law were freed by Hamas in November and has been part of the protest against the Israeli government. Thank you so much for speaking to us. We've just had a very clear message from Netanyahu that says military action is the way forward. Is he making the right decision?
Well, I think military action is the way forward as long as it's backed up by diplomatic strategy and as long as we understand that the only means that we're able to get to the hostages and to their release is by Hamas agreeing and Israel agreeing to a deal. And therefore, when we are seeing that there's only military pressure, we are realizing that it's not enough, and we're calling for their immediate release through an agreement.
How do you do this? How do you actually get the hostages out? What are you advocating? Are you saying that there needs to be a commando operation to go in and extract them? Where and how do you want this to happen?
No, we want a deal like the last one in which over 100 people were released and got back safely to their homes and their families. And we want that to happen again.
So you want a cessation of hostilities in order to have a period of negotiation?
I mean, I'm not the one to say exactly how. We have experts on this. We have a strategic expert on this and people in the government, both of us, and we have our allies that are making sure this deal is agreed upon by both sides. And we're just here to make sure and to put pressure on our government not to fall into delusions that they're going to get out the hostages by only the military effect. We have seen that the hostages die if you only use the military pressure. We have the tragedy of 3 of the hostages trying to escape a month ago and shot dead by the IDF, and we're not willing for these kind of things to happen anymore.
Are you worried, Zohar, that the release of the hostages has become less of a priority the longer this conflict goes on?
No, I'm actually more optimistic that it's become more of a priority, and I'm backed up by 4 IDF high-ranked officers that gave an interview to the New York Times 2 weeks ago, saying that it's now very clear at this point that the 2 declared goals of the war, breaking down Hamas rule over the Gaza Strip and releasing the hostages, are now in contradiction, and the government has to choose what it does, the Israeli government, at this point. And right now, we are putting a lot of pressure, and we're backed up by the Israeli public that is surrounding us with love and affection, and is standing with us out in the cold streets of Jerusalem. And I'm determined that these calls are also heard by our government and our decision makers.
Zohar, you've had direct experience of this. Just give us some insight into what families of those who have hostages in Gaza are actually going through right now.
Well, I think we can all look back at a moment when we were concerned about a loved one and we didn't know where they were or what's going on with them. All of us had that for at least a few seconds, for at least a minute, an hour, where someone has been out of contact. So I would just want everybody, all the viewers at home and you, to imagine what that feels and stretch it over 150 days when it's not that you don't know what's going on. You know very well that your loved one is held by a terrorist organization. So you can only imagine how that feels, how that moment of horror and anxiety and total lack of ability to help the one you love, how does that feel when it's stretched over longer than 3 months?
So high, incredibly, and through careful diplomacy and difficult negotiations, some of your family members were freed. How are they doing now, and how are they feeling, realising that some people are still trapped?
I think personally, my niece and my sister-in-law are slowly stepping back into their previous lives. They have a lot to take in. Mind you that the people that were taken were not aware of what happened on October 7th. They were aware of their personal situation, but it's only coming back did they realize that 1,400 people had died. only coming back did they realize that their own family members were shot dead by Hamas. Only coming back did they realize that they now are national-wide celebrity figures and that their privacy has gone and will never come back. So this is all a lot to take in. Gladly, they're doing it very well. They're back to work. They're back to school. And I think that, like us, they're deeply, deeply in anguish and agony about the people who are still behind, especially when they know what these people are going through.
Okay, Zohar, thank you very much for joining us. Do keep up the pressure. That's Zohar Avigdori, whose relatives have been freed by Hamas, but who's still campaigning hard to try and get the remaining hostages released from Hamas.